Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, Hamas accuses Israel of interfering with the upcoming Palestinian elections. The Israeli defense minister unveils a new strategy to combat terrorism, and a new report has revealed that Israelis are in no rush to tie the knot. I'm Natasha Kirchuk here with the latest news in Israel. Israel has arrested a high-ranking West Bank Hamas official for inciting violence in the area. The arrest comes just as Hamas has threatened to boycott the upcoming Palestinian elections unless the Palestinian Authority also stops arresting their operatives in the West Bank. The Shin Bet and IDF arrested Hamas official Hussein Abu Quick in a raid on his home in the El Amari refugee camp near Ramallah on Wednesday. A Hamas spokesman is condemning the arrest and has accused Israel of trying to influence the results of the upcoming municipal elections. Abu Quick is Hamas's main West Bank campaigner in the elections, which are scheduled for October 8th. Last week, he was appointed Hamas's only representative to the PA's Central Elections Commission, which is overseeing the elections. Hamas has already accused PA President Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah party of arresting Hamas activists in their attempt to influence the results of the elections. The terror group is expected to gain power over Fatah in the municipal elections. 5 other suspected Hamas members were also arrested overnight from villages and cities around the West Bank. The terror group is now threatening to boycott the upcoming Palestinian elections unless the Palestinian Authority stops arresting their operatives in the West Bank. Hamas is warning that if arrests keep happening, they'll outlaw the Palestinian Authority in the Gaza Strip. Fatah has made similar complaints about its representatives being arrested in the Gaza Strip. Hamas is particularly aggravated by the recent arrest of Nader Sawafta, a West Bank leader in the organization, who also works as a supervisor for the elections and selects the Islamist group's candidates. According to local opinion polls and political experts, Hamas is expected to make significant gains in the upcoming elections for local councils. The last election was held in 2012, but only in the West Bank as Hamas boycotted the vote. Israeli Defense Minister Dov Lipman has revealed a brand new initiative to stop Arab terror attacks, and it's based on a classic approach of benefits and consequences. In what some are calling Liebermans sticks, the hits, and the carrot plan, Palestinians who support terrorism will face greater punishments, while life will be made easier for those who don't. The first phase of the $105 million project is expected to last for 2 years. IDF presence will be beefed up around the villages where the majority of the West Bank terrorists come from, amid reinforced strides to enforce existing law. The defense chief said he will continue his opposition to returning terrorist bodies to their families. Meanwhile, positive incentives for maintaining the peace includes greater construction in Palestinian cities that have not been home to terrorists, while checkpoints between the West Bank and Israel will either be removed or improved in the absence of attacks. An economic corridor will be created between Jericho and Jordan, and an Israeli news site in Arabic will be launched. Lieberman says he also wants to improve communication between Israeli officials and their counterparts in Ramallah, in an effort to bypass Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, whom Israel has long accused of being an obstacle to peace. Israel's newly returned judo delegation has been given a very warm reception by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who told the nation's 2 bronze medal winners they serve as an inspiration to the whole country. A special celebration was held at the Prime Minister's office in Jerusalem yesterday. The Premier, his wife Sarah, and Sports Minister Miri Regev were on hand to congratulate Israeli Olympic medalists Or Sasson and Yarden Jerbi, as well as the rest of the judo team.
מצטרף למילים של ירדן. אני רוצה להגיד שגם אני מרגיש זכות ענקית לייצג את מדינת ישראל כל פעם מחדש, ועוד יותר גאווה להביא מדליה אולימפית במדינה הזאת. תודה רבה שהזמנת אותנו. כמו שירדן אמרה, גם אני תמיד ראיתי את זה שאמרו לי שהייתי קטן, ראש הממשלה מתקשר לאלכס זאבי, ראש הממשלה. או לאורנס מג'ה. והנה זה קורה, זה מרגש.
הכי אבסורד, אותו ראש הממשלה.
Netanyahu praised all of the athletes, saying that each and every one is a champion for having represented the Jewish state at the 2016 Olympics in Rio. He also let them know that he's received many messages from Egyptians who oppose the refusal of their country's judoka Islam El-Shahabi to shake Sasson's hand after he was defeated by the Israeli in a preliminary round of the over 100-kilogram contest. Given his athletic prowess, when the premier greeted Sasson in his office, he cautioned him not to hug him too hard. The gentle giant turns 26 years old today, and everyone here at ILTV joins me in wishing Ori Sasson a very happy birthday, as well as in congratulating all 47 members of the Israeli Olympic delegation. Israel has already taken home 2 Olympic medals in Rio, and there could be more to come. But winning isn't everything. ILTV's Steve Liebowitz sat down with sports reporter Ori Lewis from Reuters to hear about which Israeli athletes value participating in the Olympics more than taking home the gold.
Well, I think any athlete who goes to the Olympics knows that this is the pinnacle of their sporting achievement. Whatever happens, just to be there, it's such an incredible place to be, whether you're there as a journalist, whether you're there as a spectator, and certainly if you're there as a competitor, it's just something else. Now, some of the athletes have not been there before. They will suddenly feel the whole world looking at them, and it really is, there's billions of people on TV watching. There are hundreds of thousands of people watching more closely, from the spectators who are at the Olympics in general. And they will be feeling this. This is not just some backwater world championship held in some obscure country. This is the center of the world for 3 weeks almost, where everybody is watching, everybody is expecting the athletes of every country to do their best, and the Israelis are no different. So the pressures are going to be on them, no question. But if they've had good preparation and they can just shut that out of their minds, they will be able to perform, hopefully, at their very best.
And it's not a monolithic team, is it, of just Jews born in Israel? A number of immigrants on this team. We have a migrant from Africa who's on the team. We have Russian-born. We even have people who spend most of their time outside of the country training and don't really live here. But how Israeli would you say this team is?
Well, I think the bulk of the team are Israeli. The bulk of them do live in Israel. As you quite rightly say, there's Lona Chamtai, the marathon runner who's naturalized, got Israeli citizenship very recently.
I know Reuters has just done a recent feature about her.
Exactly, yes. She married her Israeli coach, Dan Salpeter.
That's convenient.
Yes, and that's how she got Israeli citizenship. She's not going to win a medal. She's not fast enough as a marathon runner to go anywhere near the front group at the moment. But she's one example. There is Donald Sanford, 400-meter runner from the States, who also hooked up with an Israeli, and he's got Israeli citizenship. There are a few others. In some sports, if you want to perform at your very best, you need to be at the right place with other competitors. And that's not necessarily in Israel. The level of competition, the level of the ability to perform and to prepare just doesn't exist. But that's true for almost every athlete in the world. If they want to perform at their best in a particular sport, they need to be with their peers, and that might be somewhere in Russia or somewhere in one of these Eastern European countries, or Japan, and of course the United States, where the facilities are the best and the competition is the best and the coaches are the very best. And you will find athletes going over there to train and to hone their skills, so they get to their peak when the Olympics come around.
Some of the local angles might like to just hear about this. I know that you yourself are a good tennis player and golfer. We have representatives in golf, which is now an Olympic sport, and also in tennis. How are they going to do?
Well, Dudi Seller is a great guy, and he's ranked around 70 in the world. I don't see him going too far in this competition, unfortunately. But
and a golfer, a woman golfer.
Yes, Letitia Beck, who's again, she's an amateur, but she's got in there, and she's a good amateur. I think ranked around 60th in the world, and so you're going to see them go out there, fly the flag, and this is what you expect Really, you expect athletes, whatever sport they're in, to try to do their very best. Not everybody can win a medal. Only about a quarter of all, even less, I think, even about a fifth of all competitors will win any medal at an Olympic Games. So, so many people are going to go away disappointed. Many people will just go there with the fact that they've had a great time and have competed against the very best in the world.
And now it's time for this week's Parsha. Joining me in the studio is Rabbi Dov Lipman. Thanks so much for coming in.
Sure, to be here.
So tell us about this week's Parsha.
So this Parsha is Parshat Va'etchanan, and Va'etchanan is actually the beginning of the Parsha where Moses describes how he pleaded with God to let him come into the land of Israel. Just to remind ourselves, Moses was punished, and even though he's the one who led the Jews out of Egypt, he leads them through the desert, he was punished because of a mistake that he made, and he was not allowed to enter the land. And he pleads, and he pleads, and he pleads with God to the point that God says, stop, it's enough. You're not going in. You'll be able to stand on a mountain and see the land, but you're not actually going in. That's part one of the Parsha. And then towards the later parts of the Parsha, we have two very important parts. One is the Shema, which is the verse, Hear, O Israel, where Jews proclaim that God is one, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, God is one, a verse which has had meaning throughout our history in very important moments, and the Ten Commandments are actually repeated in this week's portion. So we sort of span
so this covers
a few different
everything.
things.
Okay.
Correct.
Wow, so tell me about the message that it sends when we hear Moses pleading like this and not being allowed to enter the land of Israel.
So there are moments when I read that, and first of all, it's heartbreaking to see how badly he wants to come. But I think that for people, especially in our times, we have to gain an appreciation for we are allowed to come into the land of Israel, meaning to see how badly Moses wanted to just come into the land, even if he's going to die soon afterwards, just to be here. And today, wherever you are in the world, you can get on a jumbo jet, watch a few movies, be fed a few meals, and you can be here and walk here freely. I think we have to be so appreciative to God for giving us the land now, giving it back to us, and giving us opportunities to come. So sort of learn from Moshe's sadness, from Moses' sadness, and just appreciate the incredible times that we live, that we can be in this special land.
Absolutely. And now when we're talking about the Ten Commandments, how does this apply to our lives?
I think it's the Ten Commandments really on a certain level changed civilization. You're talking about the first time where we have this idea of, first of all, believing God. Move away from the pagan world, which was the entire civilization at that time. But then these basic rules of don't kill, don't steal, adultery, not even being jealous of what other people have, honoring your parents. And by the way, even the Sabbath, even if people don't take it to the point of keeping the Sabbath the way maybe religious Jews do, the idea of taking one day and detaching ourselves from the craziness of day-to-day life and focusing on what's important. These are monumental ideas which were passed over in the Ten Commandments, which every single one of them applies to us today. And I would advise everyone, open up the Bible and take a look at them, and each person to themselves can internalize how it's meaningful to them.
Well, this week is a reminder that that's there for you to look at to kind of help guide your life. So now let's also talk about Tu B'Av, because today is a special holiday. It's kind of like Israel's Valentine's Day. And there's a very special history to this holiday as well. Tell us about how it was celebrated in the past.
There is. In the past, it talks about in our tradition that this was a day which was Couples' Day, where men and women would meet. Women would go out and dance in the vineyards and in the fields, and men would come, and that's how they would meet each other. It was sort of a day where we want people to be able to connect to one another, perhaps especially on the heels, now we can say, of the sadness of the 3 weeks leading up to the 9th of Av, which was commemorated earlier this week. And now we're sort of free to be happy, and let's rebuild families and show the continuity of the Jewish people. But it's an amazing thing to see this idea in a religious tradition. Sometimes in religion we associate separating the genders, and there's not so much intermingling of the genders, and yet in our tradition there was this day where we said, go meet each other, see each other, and let's create new families based on this. And I think it really captures that idea of the continuity of the Jewish people, sort of going from the mourning that we had earlier earlier in the week in the sadness, but saying despite what we've experienced in our history, we are continuing and we are starting new families, and men and women should meet each other and be attracted to each other and create this new family together. It sort of shows that continuity of the Jewish people and our look to the future.
And you know what's so beautiful? You were telling me about this a little bit before, but you said that the way that women dress, they all dress to look similarly, which I think is a very interesting message, especially when we talked about this earlier, you know, judging one another, trying to look at everybody with the same eyes, you know?
And not to be grabbed by false externals, which can mislead.
Exactly.
Sometimes, oh, there's money in that family, maybe I'll go towards that family. But the idea that judge the person for who they are and see the person for who they are without those externals, that's also a very Jewish concept in our tradition. We talk about, you know, that marriage and relationships have to be based on who the person is and not based on, you know, people can sort of put on the outsides, and you have to sort of penetrate and understand who they really are. That's a very important message of this day as well. And that's part of the celebration, I think, also, is that we sort of removed any facades.
Right, all the women dress exactly the same way.
Correct, and they can see each other for who they are.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, I hope everybody has a wonderful day celebrating this romantic holiday. Thank you so much for coming in, Rabbi.
Sure, and Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. All right, moving on. So earlier this month, the IDF came under fire after a video was released of 2 Israeli border guards confiscating a young Palestinian girl's bicycle. Now, an Israeli is setting things straight and has bought a new bike for the 8-year-old girl and her family. On August 2nd, 2 border guards were caught on film taking little 8-year-old Anwar Burkan's bike and putting it into nearby bushes. The Israeli guards claim they were trying to prevent her from crossing into the Jewish neighborhood of Hebron, in which Palestinians are banned from entering. And because they couldn't speak Arabic, they say they were afraid they wouldn't get their point across. The Israeli Justice Ministry almost immediately condemned the incident, calling it inappropriate and unprofessional. But several news sites went viral with the video of the incident, marring Israel's reputation. Now, an Israeli diamond merchant named Sammy Joels is trying to right the wrong. Joels says her experience reminded him of something that had happened to his father in Europe during the 1920s, when a group of anti-Semites attacked his dad and threw his bike into a river. He felt that giving the little girl a new bicycle would close that circle, and he contacted a local peace activist to get Anwar a new bike. While he says the move isn't influenced by his political beliefs, Joel's gift is in many ways promoting peace and hopefully unity between Palestinians and Israelis. Many tourists are now avoiding their favorite summertime destinations because of rising security concerns around the world. ILTV's Aaron Viner sat down with Mark Feldman, the head of the leading Jerusalem travel agency Zion Tours, to ask how this has affected his Israeli clientele.
Now let's talk about outgoing Israelis. What are the top destinations this summer?
Look, nearby Greece. Greece has overtaken everybody. Greece is the word, Greece is the place. Everybody is going to Greece. Let's be clear. It's inexpensive, it's very nearby, and prices are reasonable. It's still cheaper to fly to Greece for a family of 4 than to go to a hotel in Eilat or the Dead Sea. The prices are less. You may spend more at the duty-free, but you'll get value for your money.
And what about North America? There are a lot of American Israelis. Anybody heading home for the summer?
No, North America is probably Israel's #1 destination for shopping, for family, for long tours. That's people that are taking off a long period, okay? They have to go to America for more than a week, 10 days. It's completely supplanted London or Paris, even Berlin. So we've got the long holiday going to North America, and we've got the short holiday going to Greece. Those are the 2 primary destinations we're seeing. It comes to money. I don't have a lot of money, but I still have to get out of this country. I go to Greece. I have more money. I want to support the U.S. economy. I want to say hi to Donald and Hillary. I go to North America.
Well, since you brought that up, I cannot let you go without asking you the most pressing question, which is on everyone's minds. Who's going to be better for Israeli travel, Clinton or Trump?
What I tell all of my clients, what I tell all of my people is there's 3 magic words that will help them when they travel to North America. What about Donald? That stops questioning about what we're doing in Israel. That questions no longer exist. By asking that question, people are finding out either they love or hate. From our point of view, I think we're looking for an administration that is proactive, that is not trying to tell us to stop building or to try to put economic sanctions on us. Whether it's a Democratic administration or Republican administration, I'm not sure. I think that whoever we have is going to be supportive of Israel, and I think there's a bedrock commitment from the people of the United States, from the elected officials of the United States, to support this country. They sure come here in a lot of numbers. We've got delegations coming from the Congress left and right all summer. Look, I think most of our clientele are very afraid to go to Europe. Be it Munich, be it Nice, be it London, or be it Barcelona. There's a palpable fear about Europe. We live in a country where we have attacks all the time, and yet when we go on vacation, we don't want to deal with it. We want to get away. So there's a lot less demand to go to Europe. It's one of the reasons that prices are so cheap. They've never been cheaper to fly from Israel to Europe, okay? Deals we haven't seen, prices are at least 20 to 30% down because of the fact people just don't want to go. It's not just Israel. All of Europe is complaining about the lack of tourism from North America, from the lack of tourism within their own borders. French tourism has a major decrease. German tourism is seeing a major decrease. It's not going to go away. This unease is similar to what we've experienced with our own knife intifada, where people just kept saying, next year in Jerusalem, not this year.
What about Turkey, which of course was once one of the most popular tourist destinations for Israelis who were traveling? In light of the recent rapprochement between Jerusalem and Ankara, how are the levels?
Look, the president of Turkey has repeatedly, over many years, called us names, made accusations. Yes, he's turned over, apparently, a new bone, but there's a lot of hesitation. The workers' committees, which are the large groups that take from the electrical thing, have decided, no thank you. The individual has said, no thank you. Ask this question in a year. If we have a year where Turkey doesn't badmouth us, doesn't cause problems in the United Nations, then we may return. But today, between what's going on in Turkey with the terrorism there, the attempted coup last month, nobody is saying, hey, let's vacation in Turkey. It should be a fun place.
So how do you advise your clientele who are already abroad and some sort of an incident may have taken place, whether in an airport that they're supposed to travel through or where they're actually staying?
First and foremost, see something, say something. We're emphatic about letting our people, they have to be more alert. They can't be standing in a long line, be it at Disneyland Paris or at the Vatican in Rome, and just ignore what's going on. This concept of taking selfies of oneself and not looking around is dangerous. I tell them to be more alert. Take a look around, see what's going on the plane or around. If you see something, say something. We no longer can just simply live in our own little thing, texting away, oblivious to what's going on. That's the biggest message we're telling people today. Wherever they fly, wherever they are, be more alert.
Tomorrow is Tu B'Av, the holiday known as the Jewish Valentine's Day, so it's time to celebrate love. But according to a new report, Israeli men and women are in no hurry to tie the knot. The Israeli Central Bureau of Statistics has revealed some new data showing that the average age for marriage in Israel has risen. Since 1970, the average age for an Israeli man to get married has increased from 25 years old to 27.6 years old. That's a difference of more than 2.5 years. And for women, the jump has been by 3.3 years to 25 years old. It even looks like Jewish Israeli men are staying single for longer because in 2014, 65% of men aged 25 to 29 were flying solo, compared to just 28% in 1970. The numbers are even higher in Tel Aviv, the Israeli city that never sleeps, where 70% of women and 82% of men of the same age were single. The changes in Israel's Muslim community have been pretty minimal in comparison, with the average ages for marriage in 2014 only rising to 24.1 24.5 for men and 22.2 for women. The CBS says that in 2014, almost 51,000 Israeli couples tied the knot, 37,000 of which were Jewish, 12,000 Muslim, 1,000 Druze, and 860 Christian. Yet whether or not the average age for marriage is increasing, one thing is certain. Marriage is still very much valued in the Holy Land because Israel has an overall marriage rate of 6.2 couples per 1,000 people, which is one of the highest among the OECD members. Alright guys, it's time for our Hebrew word of the day. There are so many different ways to show your love, but there's nothing like a good old neshika, which means kiss in Hebrew. A neshika has become a customary way of greeting people nowadays, but with all the international ways to do so, it can get a bit confusing. Here in Israel, you can greet your friends with just one neshika on the cheek. In France, be prepared to give two, and if you're feeling really crazy, just head to Switzerland where the Swiss will welcome you with 3 big smooches. Even if you're not a very touchy person, just look at kissing like a sport. They say giving neshikot or kisses burns 6.4 calories a minute. Sounds like a pretty easy workout, right? So whether you're giving 1 neshika or 2, stay positive because they say it all starts with a kiss. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. The weekend is finally here. Friday is expected to be sunny with a high of 86 degrees. Saturday should have exactly the same weather, meaning it's a perfect weekend to head to the beach. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.78 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv, and don't forget to check out our next update at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, and see you tonight.